He's a survivor of locked-in syndrome, which is basically like being in a coma, but you're conscious through it. And the only documented case of stage 4 progressive leukoencephalopathy. Today, we are going to be doing something really special. We're going to be doing a live Ask Me Anything. So any questions that you might have about Jake's experience or anything for Jake, we're going to be asking it, answering it, and transcribing it live for everyone to see. So where this is happening is on Reddit. We're going to be taking questions from Reddit, from YouTube, and from Facebook. The transcription is going to be happening on Reddit, though. Yeah, so fantastic. Here we go. Jake, do you want to say anything before we get going?
Let's do this. I'm ready.
Nice. So just going to share this here. And okay, so our first question that we have comes from on Reddit user Hello Scribbler. And what is the most challenging part of physical rehabilitation?
The motivation and also pushing through the pain.
So in some of these, I'm going to ask you like follow-up questions.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So the pain and the motivation, right?
Yeah. So
what is the pain like for you?
So it's obviously better now, but in the beginning of my recovery, you can barely move. You're really depressed. You don't know if you're going to recover. And it's really hard to find that inside yourself to keep on going when things look so bad and not positive at all.
Yeah. Awesome. So really like staying focused and staying on the right mindset, right?
Correct.
Cool. Coming from the same user, do you ever get post-traumatic growth burnout? Do you ever have days where you just don't want to perform and you'd rather do a lot of nothing?
No. I am so motivated, not only in my recovery, but to share my experience with everyone. Just like edit YouTube videos, emails, my own patient advocacy. So no, I never get burned out. I'm worried that I will one day, but I've been going for about 6 months like this with no signs of burnout.
Awesome. And that's so hard to do, right? Because I know for a lot of people in physical rehab, burnout is really high because it is very intensive, especially in a situation that you're in, right?
Yeah, and also not many have post-traumatic growth. They have the opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about mindset.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All about mindset.
Yeah.
Again, so this was a 3-part question. It seems like you've got many medical professions, friends, and supporters all over the world cheering you on. I imagine there are some days where you might would rather not have to go through all the motions. Do you ever have those days where you simply want to be still? What do you do on those days? And so you just kind of answered that, right?
Yeah. Even before I was in recovery, I could never sit still. And it's even more amplified now. I gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah. Awesome. So Moving on to another post from Hello Scribbler. Have any of your old party friends / customers reached out to you since your injury and recovery?
Yes. A surprisingly majority of them have gone clean and are inspired by my. Their recovery was obviously hard, but they can't even imagine what I went through, and they are inspired by it. I do have some active users that I still am in contact with, and they look for advice, and they want to get clean. The ones that are really in full-blown active use have not really reached out so far.
Yeah. And that makes sense, right? Like, because you're a huge inspiration for so many people that are struggling with, I would imagine specifically like opiate addiction. So yeah, I can totally imagine that.
Yeah.
Just taking a quick second to say hi to our YouTube friends. We got Jamie saying, love you, Jake. Laura, you are beyond awesome, Jacob. Daniel saying, keep it up.
Thanks, guys. I will.
Going on to another question from Hello Scribbler. What is your favorite cheese?
Well, my favorite band is a string cheese incident. So they are in a way my favorite cheese, but to eat brie.
Nice. And this is going to be our last question before we refresh and the Reddit page here. Is there any food that you loved before your injury that you simply can't stand now?
You know, I would do a lot of cooking with whole peppercorns, and I had a dish just last night that had whole peppercorns. I bit into one, and like, that was bad. That almost made me choke.
Yeah. Just like
But
that
not,
huge spice.
yeah. But I still like spice. I still like heat. There was definitely a time where all my senses were going crazy, and I could not stand anything for a few weeks. Everything had to be really bland, but I'm better now.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So just checking the various platforms here. Brer says, LOL, brie is so good. And Bernie says, they're sorry about the peppercorns. Next time they won't put the peppercorns in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna refresh the Reddit page here. See what's being posted. Okay. From Blair again. What kind of moisturizer do you use? You have great skin.
Well, thank you. I use Eucerin
Can you spell that?
EU. I actually am not sure how it's spelled, but it's Eucerin.
And where do you get that from for people that are interested?
Your local CVS, or online. Because of COVID-19, I use a lot of Amazon. So everything is available on Amazon, obviously.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So while we're waiting for some more questions to come in, I'm going to ask some questions from our podcast yesterday.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So just for everyone knowing, this isn't going to be transcribed in the Reddit post, this part right here, because these are coming from Facebook. People that are here with us, feel free to ask questions in Reddit or YouTube or Facebook, and we will get to them. So one question we had is, after we were talking about how rapidly you're making progress and how quickly you're relearning things, one of the questions was, what did you learn last week? Like, what is a recent learning for you?
Well, I was sitting unsupported on the side of the bed, which obviously takes a lot of coordination and core strength. And at the same time, I was using bilateral hand movements, meaning I was using both my hands to open a little Hershey's chocolate mini, which is insanely difficult. I finally got it there, got it open, and I was able to eat it all unsupported.
Yeah, those things are a pain in the ass, like,
Yeah.
just normally. So I can imagine. What would you say the hardest part was? Was it like the grip strength or the coordination in pulling?
It's
something else?
really like it's like not so much grip strength, but more like when I got a good pins or grasps on the paper, I could not seem to hold it there to pull it apart.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you, and it's, what would you say the funniest thing that happened to you during this like entire process has been?
Wow. There have been so many things that were obviously not funny at the time, but now that I'm better, they're really hysterical. So this was back when I would use the letterboard and have to spell out things letter by letter. My nurse came in one day and she forgot a medication called Lovenox, and that's a blood thinner. It's like an injection that you get in your belly, and it prevents blood clots
Right.
for people who are immobile. So I like noticed this, and I'm like, oh my god, I need my Lovenox. So they could tell I wanted to say something non-verbally with the letterboard. So I spell out Lovenox, and they're like, we can't figure this out. Jake, who cares who you love and who is Knox? Like, take your medicine, relax. And I'm like, no, I'm blinking, going crazy. It probably took 8 people over an hour, and they were finally going, love Knox. Oh, Lovenox, I get it. And I missed my therapy because it took so long. And they were all like, I'm so sorry. Because that was just one of many things that came to mind.
Yeah. So
Obviously, not funny at the time.
Yeah. What were you like? Were you really frustrated when that was going on?
Oh my God. I was furious. I was like, why can't they just understand? Obviously, I'm not talking about love here. talking to my nurse, and all I want is my Lovenox. But they were literally like, Jake, who gives a shit who you love? Take your medicine. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I'm trying here.
Yaz Y2. I am definitely not saying that right, but on YouTube says they used to advertise using all you need is Lovenox. So
Interesting. As in, I guess my reply would be the Lovenox company advertise themselves like this. I'm wondering,
yeah.
because I don't really know what that means.
Okay. So another question for you is for the people who are listening, what was the first sign of recovery?
Initially, it was a very minor movement of my right wrist that was so subtle. I mean, I could not even mimic it. And then from there went to blinking. Those were the very first signs of coming out of locked in. Some could say my recovery really started when I began to move and speak verbally. So there's been all these different points in my recovery. There are milestones, and they're still happening every day.
So I think what we're going to do is questions like this, we will post in the Reddit comments as well.
Okay.
That way it's all there, right? It's easy for people to find. So next question. What was the hardest thing you've had to overcome?
There's so many things. It was really, well, one of them was making the first sound. That was the hardest part, and really learning what diaphragmatic breathing was. And I actually was trying so hard to make sound that it would hurt my feet. So my speech therapist would say, like, this doesn't make sense. No one's feet would ever hurt from like speech therapy. But I was like trying so hard, I would cramp my feet and literally pushing so hard that I gave myself wounds inside my cereal cast.
You gave yourself what inside your cast?
Wounds. So like pressure wounds. That's how hard I was pushing to initially make a single sound. And then they realized this.
And so as that has become easier for you, do you have to still consciously think about speaking and pushing the air out, or has that become more natural for you now?
That's become more natural, but it's definitely still an ongoing issue. I really have to think about coordinating every movement, not only with speech, but just everything. In order to like properly articulate, I gotta think about how I'm making each sound. It's wild.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. What advice would you give to Jacob, like 4 years ago?
4 years ago, let's see. Well, I was a full-blown addict, bouncing in between trying to get myself clean and then relapsing, really making myself dope sick for like the 4-day worst period and then bouncing right back. My advice for Jacob back then would be slow your roll, calm down, enjoy everything you have. Don't be in a rush, and just, you don't need these extra things you may think you need, meaning substance. All you need is like good food, good love, shelter, the essentials.
Mhm. And why do you think you felt the need for substances?
Let's see. And that all comes back to the root problem of anxiety and depression,
Mm.
which was really caused by my mother being terminally sick with breast cancer. And as she was getting sicker, it pushed me over the edge. And then I really got out of control when she died.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was out of control before then, but I was at a whole new level
Mm-hmm.
of self-destructive alcoholism, drug addiction, like mess.
Okay, gonna refresh Reddit here. Okay. So this one is coming from Love Fried Chicken. Were
Love
there
him.
were there any songs or music you could hear in your head when you were locked in?
Oh yeah. There was a song by Railroad Earth, which is kind of a bluegrass band, called A Long Way to Go, or A Long Road to Go. If you listen to this, there's actually a link in my YouTube playlist section. It just it really captivates what I was going through. The chorus is like, I still got a long way to go. I would
Nice.
play that a lot in my head.
That's awesome.
As I became unlocked, there was a Master P rap song I overheard actually while I was in Mass General. I don't know where this was coming from, but the song name is I Did It. And it's like, they say I couldn't do it, but I did it. Like, fuck those haters, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, perfect. Like, that's my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. We got some shout outs here for you. Coming from YouTube. Mizu is saying, "Hey Jacob, hope your day goes great," with a little heart.
Hey, but
Marmaduke says, "Hey Jacob, hey everyone." And Ricky says, "Love you, XOXO."
awesome. Thank you, guys.
We got a question from Daniel on YouTube. And it says, "What was the reaction of the doctors once they noticed that you were still in there? How did it change from then on?"
That's, it was really a holy shit. I mean, they had no idea. At first, when I started to blink, they were saying that this was an involuntary response. But then I blinked rapidly to say no, no, no. And they were like, I think he's really listening to us. That's when they tried to establish me sticking my tongue for a yes. And then when they realized I was following along with their conversation, they were shocked. They were basically talking about me needing Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital in Charlestown and saying around me that I could not qualify because I could not do the required 3 hours a day of therapy. I started blinking and freaking out. And luckily, the speech therapist was there and was like, do you want to say something using the letterboard? I said, I can do 3 hours a day. And they were all just like, not only can he comprehend, he's actually like really engaging with what we're saying. And that was like they were shocked. They were like, we need to get him there no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what?
So
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, what changed is there were no more negative comments I would overhear. Everybody was very conscious about this guy is aware. So we gotta like engage with him. We gotta, there weren't that many at this point negative comments. It was more when I was fully locked in the ICU. So they were just, I was being acknowledged a lot.
Mm-hmm. How did that feel after 6 months of?
Amazing. I mean, I had no ability to really converse beyond the point of basic needs, but that was enough at that point. It felt like a huge victory, and at that point, I knew I was gonna talk again and make it back.
Nice.
Mm.
Where did that belief come from?
That belief came from everybody saying I would die and that this was impossible. And when I could break through that level of nonverbal communication, virtually locked in, that was just like, I've already done the impossible. So it just gave me the hope and drive to carry on and optimism that I could do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We've spent so much time talking together, and every time I talk to you, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So next question on Reddit coming from Sophisha. What are some things you wish nurses would have done for you while you were locked in that they didn't know you needed?
Okay, this is a very good question. Scratching itches would be one thing. Eye drops for my dry eyes would be another. Repositioning me more often would be another. Also, kind of embarrassing, but there were times where I'd have the worst wedgie imaginable. And like, I'd be stuck that way for hours.
Oh
I'd
no.
be like, if someone could just fix the wedgie, that'd be awesome. I'm sure there's a lot more. Let me think about that for later tonight.
Sure. Awesome. Okay, gonna take a quick scan through all the socials again. For
Yeah.
everyone watching, we got like 4 different places where we're taking questions from. So we're just sneaking back and forth here. So we have a question from Mizu on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it says, you briefly talked about it in an older video, but during your coma, what was it like being in your own head for so long?
The full array of every emotion imaginable. I went through periods of extreme sadness, peace. Let's see. I would just really have this ongoing monologue with myself about everything. And I would, I remember when these autonomic storms would happen, I would say, "Hey Jay, calm down." And then the other voice, being my brain, would say, "Don't worry, you're okay." And then I would say, "Okay, I think I'm okay." And then I would say, "Oh no, I'm freaking out." And they would say, "Don't freak out." So just like, I also had visions of the future of me actually recovered. One big one that overplayed in my head was having a picnic on the beach, actually more specifically in Chatham, Massachusetts, which is Cape Cod, a very beautiful area, and just having a picnic with a female, drinking some wine,
Yeah.
I think we were watching the sunset, and that played over and over in my head.
Nice.
But really, everything you can think of probably happened during that 6 months that felt like 50 years.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And this comes from you and I having spoken quite a lot.
Yeah.
And self-talk is so important. The way we speak to ourselves.
Yeah.
How has that changed? How has your self-talk changed after being locked in and only having self-talk?
I mean, definitely for the better. And I'm not sure anyone could even relate to this. I was definitely in therapy before all this. And now it's like I don't even need therapy. I'm able to just literally talk it all out by myself.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
So you got really good at really like listening to yourself. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the skill of self-talk is something that would improve people's lives if they were better at it?
I do. I mean, all your core issues come from inside. I mean, obviously, if something bad happens to you, that's like not in your control. But how you deal with it is, and if you can talk it out, if you need help, obviously get help. But you're really the one that can talk it out and make yourself at peace with this issue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the same thread, do you still have negative thoughts? And if so, how do you approach those?
I do. there's obviously like so much going on in my life aside from physical recovery. There's the personal side of things, there's the health insurance side of things. There are lots of constant ongoing battles, and I do at times have negative thoughts, but they're brief, and I really self-talk them away or speak to a friend or family member and just have to be reminded, just calm down. You've been through worse. You'll get through this.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question comes from YouTube. I'm sorry, I I don't know how to say your name. I'm gonna say it's Yaz. They say, while locked in, did you follow a quote normal sleep schedule? As in, did you try to sleep at night and be awake during the day? Or maybe that's totally not how that works. How did that work?
It did not really work at all. I really didn't get what someone would call a, a regular sleep cycle or any sleep. It was almost as if I passed out. Um, and so that could happen at 2 in the afternoon, and I'd wake up at 6 in the evening. There was really I had no sense of time. So I passed out when I did. I was awake when I was. Never any restful sleep. Definitely not normal.
So were you tired all the time because you didn't have the restful sleep?
I wouldn't quite say tired. I was overly exhausted from pain, medical issues, my deep thought process of like, oh my God, I'll be trapped like this forever. That was um what was tiring.
Right.
But there was never like, oh, I'm exhausted, I need a nap.
Awesome. Gonna go back to refreshing Reddit here, see if we got some new questions. Okay, so on Reddit, we have a question from Aquarius Best, and it says, what makes you happy nowadays?
Let's see. Going outside is such a gift. Just like the basic, even if it's only for 20 minutes. Definitely speaking with family or seeing them, being able to eat whatever I want. Really, the little joys of life now. Everything really makes me happy, especially when I do something new in my physical, occupational, or speech therapy. When I reach a new milestone, that is some of the best stuff ever.
Yeah. As you were saying that initial stuff, I was like, it really is the little things, right? That
Yeah.
we so often just take for granted that are what make life so special.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question from Piece by Piece by Piece. It's a funny written name. What are your goals for July and August? And they say, thank you for sharing your hard work and incredible recovery with us. You are an inspiration.
Well, first off, thank you so much for listening. or watching or reading. I really appreciate it. My goals for July and August are to be transferred out of long-term care back to acute care, where I can be in a more intensive rehabilitation hospital in a very advanced walking program. So I believe my transfer is imminent, maybe in the next week or so. And then I believe I would need 100 days of intensive 3 hours a day, 6 days a week therapy, where I could be back on my feet literally. Maybe walking unsupported with a walker. I'm not really sure, but that's the goal.
Yeah, I saw your recent video of you standing in the pool, right?
Yeah.
And um, going from quadruped to standing is the next progression. So you absolutely could be there by the end of August.
Yeah, I
That's
could.
that's super exciting.
Very exciting.
So sorry, my mouse just stopped there. We're gonna do one last question from Reddit before we go back to YouTube because questions are coming in hot there, and I want to get those before we get too far away.
Awesome.
So on Reddit, this is from Sir Mr. Duck. Do you have anything you look forward to doing once you recover more? And did you ever feel the tendency to use drugs again?
Even the thought of using drugs sickens me. So no way. And I have a large, almost too large list of things I want to work on. I want to help with substance abuse issues for people of all ages. I want to motivate people in physical recovery, really all types of recovery, even depression. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to help with patient advocacy. I don't know where you're from, but some places in the world are definitely harder to navigate the healthcare system than others. And I'm so privileged that I have my mind and I'm able to advocate for myself. But being on a brain injury unit, there are so many in every town in America and across the world that do not have this ability. So I want to advocate for them.
Nice.
A few of the many. Oh, also the Boston Marathon in 2025. That is a huge goal of mine. Even if I gotta do it with the walker, I'm doing it.
Nice. Yeah. Good, man. So heading back to YouTube here, Yaz had a follow-up question that I want to jump to before we get too far away from it.
Yeah.
And it's, did the sleeping change once you could communicate? Did you ask for a clock in your field of view?
Yes. It was very unfortunate. While I was locked in, the clock was just out of sight. So I never really knew the time when I could communicate. There was a clock in my view that I did not even need to ask for. And then the sleep changed as I began to be more active in my recovery. Even in the initial stages, I would do this physical therapy. I would push myself so hard that I would be exhausted. and I would sleep really well. It's ironic because my entire life I dealt with sleep issues and insomnia, but that seemed to disappear as I started recovering.
And when you were recovering, did the autonomic storms lessen? Like, did that play a factor in that?
They lessened, but they were still there. I'm sure it played a factor. I mean, they went from like 16 hours a day, maybe, to like 5 hours a day, and not as intense. And I would no longer just pass out from them. So as I became more active, everything seemed to get better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Jamie on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
Oh yeah, I'm filled with regrets, but there were so many. One of them would be trying heroin, or even the first opiate I did, which was an OC 80 milligram pill, which is oxycontin. They were known as jams or green monsters. And thought it was all innocent fun and games, but no, it led me down a very bad path. But I'm trying to stay just focused on where I am now. There's nothing I can do about this, my regrets, and I'm just trying to be the best person I can be, so there won't be any more regrets in the future.
Nice. Andrew says, "Hey Jacob, how you doing, my friend?" Just reading out some of the comments here. Our next question comes from Blair. You mentioned that while you were locked in, the TV in your room played religious talk shows on repeat. Anyone change the channel so you could watch the news? And how did you keep up, quote, with the times?
Okay, let me specify this a little. So that period I mentioned was while I was on home care hospice. Basically, my television would be on TNT constantly, showing reruns of Law and Order, which I did enjoy, but definitely got sick of. Every morning at 5 a.m., it was switched to the televangelist infomercials. Unfortunately, my caregivers, obviously, I was in crisis, and this was like the 2 or 3 hour window they were asleep. So there was no one that could tell non-verbally, or even I wasn't even non-verbal then. I really couldn't do anything to get this off. I have a feeling if someone woke up, they would have known to change this, because I don't think many people enjoy that. If you do, that's okay too, but I don't. And how did I keep up with the times? I did not at all. And honestly, the last thing I'd want to hear about during that period would be the news.
Awesome. So BL on YouTube says, hi, we've chatted on Reddit before on the OT sub, and they wanted to ask, what are your current goals in OT? Occupational therapy, for anyone who doesn't know what that is.
I want to be able, I'm in the beginning stages of learning to put my shirt on. I've already been able to shower myself, not independently yet, because I can't reach my feet or my back, but I'm getting there. So working on that, also working on opening up the little soap containers and doing all that stuff by myself. So dressing, I would really love to learn how to be able to put on my braces on my feet, which, for those of you who don't know, I constantly have to wear these almost robotic looking legs to keep my ankles from also progressing but not losing progress. So those are my OT goals, along with feeding myself all different types of food. I got the finger foods down. I need a lot of work with a spoon. The things that are like soup. But yeah, so a variety of things.
BL says, thanks for the reply, Jacob. You're going to kick ass. I have no doubt you'll accomplish all of it.
Thank you, BL.
Ricky says, you inspire me so much. I see you trying your hardest and it makes me try my hardest. You're the best.
That is so good to hear. Thank you, Ricky.
Our next question, again, coming from YouTube here, is what about fear? I used to be plagued by it, but eliminating or mostly eliminating negative self-talk seems to have freed me of it.
Fear. I do not really think about fear anymore. There is the fear of, like, because I'm so uncoordinated, there is a fear of falling when I'm doing unsupported sitting or standing with contact assist. I do have this feeling of falling, but I just gotta trust myself that I won't let it happen. And I'm getting better at that. But in, like, outside of the rehab world of fear, I'm not really scared of anything anymore.
Nice. So my question for you is, if you don't fear things now, what did you used to fear?
A lot. I was really obsessed with being on time, and I would always be late, mainly because of my heroin addiction. So I had a fear of, like, being late to work, having to deal with that. Also being caught doing my shady business. Obviously, that is no longer a concern. I can even openly talk about this stuff now. What else? That's about it, really.
Cool. Okay. Going back to Reddit here. We have a question from Piece by Piece by Peas. Since you are a chef, what would/will be what you make for your caregivers to show your gratitude for them, assuming they don't specify something?
Well, one of my really, I don't know if I would call it my signature dish, but something I did very well. There are a few things I'll mention. I did braised short ribs, really good. And then I would shred the meat and incorporate them into a pasta. So braised short rib, a freshly made fettuccine pasta. I would use a smoked Gouda cream sauce, all homemade, artichoke hearts, and grilled shrimp. Toss that all together. Sprinkle little chives on there. Another thing I would do really good is grilled rack of lamb with just
Sorry, grilled what?
rack of lamb with salt, pepper, rosemary, olive oil, garlic. My dad taught me how to make a raspberry demi-glaze, which would really complement the lamb. I would definitely ask what would they want, just because I'm a well-rounded chef. I will get back in the kitchen one day, but not professionally, only for myself and others.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you for that question.
We have questions from YouTube. And just before we get to those, Marmaduke Scarlett was the one who asked about the fear question. And they say, thanks, Jacob. Anxiety made me chronically late.
Yeah, I can relate.
So Andrew asks, do you have any advice for somebody who might be struggling with addiction?
Yeah, I do. You really need to look at what the problem is that led you to this addiction. Once you can pinpoint that, you can actually start to beat the addiction, which is its own issue altogether. The process of detox is awful. Trust me, I know. But I also know it can be done. I feel like you should have whoever is struggling with this issue contact me by email on the About section on my YouTube page. I would love to share my insights with you.
Nice. Our next question is actually two questions I'm going to be putting together because they're very similar here on YouTube.
Okay.
This comes from Yaz and Mizu, and they want to know, do you play video games or board games? And then there's two kind of subsections here. Are there like adaptive controllers you can use? Or for the board games, or do they help with coordination skills and fast problem solving skills?
Okay, so I was never really into the whole video games, even in my earlier life. I'm still not so much into them. There are adaptive controllers out there, especially with the 3D printing. They've been making all kinds of stuff. I really don't have much experience in this because I'm not that into it. in terms of board games, I used to love Scrabble, and I still do. As I became verbal, or did not have control over my hands, recreational therapy would assist me in placing the pieces I wanted. Having said that, I'm now at a point where I just began playing cards in occupational therapy last week. And I used to love gambling. That's a vice I'm not going back to, by the way. But playing cards would be fun. I like blackjack, poker, all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
So, like being able to manipulate cards in my own hands is not only therapeutic, but it's gonna lead to like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a discussion going on here about the games, and what it's saying is they wonder whether motion games like Wii or like Xbox Connect would be helpful for you, or if that's something you'd be
So
interested in.
that's a very good point. There is a Wii that they use in the treatment center at the rehabilitation hospital I am at, more for patients who have a lot more mobility than me, but it does help. I know one thing they do is we golf, and since COVID-19, there's been no treatment centers. That's something I think I'm finally at the level to do. So maybe some Wii bowling or Wii golf is in my future.
Nice. Robert says greetings from Savannah, Georgia. Bernadette on Facebook says everybody's cheering Jacob. I want to cheer you on as well, Jordan. Thank you very much, Bernadette.
Thank you, everybody. I hear Savannah, Georgia is beautiful. Maybe one day I'll get down there. But thank you, guys.
Gonna take a moment, refresh the Reddit, see what's going on over on this side of things. It's getting long with all of these comments, so I'm just taking a peek through here. This question comes from Piece by Piece by Piece again. Is there something you've seen technology can, or you think might be on the cusp of, that might improve your quality of life? And do you have the means to pursue it?
Yes, there is all kinds of technology out there. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. And insurance, at least in America, will usually cover the consultation to be educated in this technology, but they won't cover the actual item. So there are things available, but they're very expensive, and they are up to the individual to purchase them. I do have minimal means. Well, maybe more than minimal. So, like, for example, I do a lot of video editing as seen on my YouTube page, and I'm very limited with only having an iPad. So something I just ordered is a Surface Pro X, which will act as a iPhone because I can insert a SIM card as well as Dragon speech recognition technology and better video editing. software. So that's going to improve my quality of life when I move into my own apartment, which realistically is probably within 6 months away. Everything will be essentially a smart home, meaning everything will be controlled by Alexa. The lights, the thermostat, everything, the shades. So there's a lot out there.
So there's a second part to this question, which I think is appropriate. And it's, how might your online community or fans help?
You can definitely help me by letting me know what you want. Excuse me, sorry. I have no control over that whatsoever. You can let me know what you would like to see in my recovery, or like other ideas of how I can reach out and help through my YouTube channel. There may come a day in the future where I'm trying to fundraise for not even myself, but for like a greater cause. And I will keep my followers up to date with that. I'm sure this will have to do with something around the marathon. I don't know quite yet what cause, but there are many out there. And, my goal is to really help others and teach others from my mistakes. That's why I believe I'm still alive.
What a powerful belief, eh?
Yeah.
Going back to YouTube, BL says, Jacob, I also wanted to ask, as someone from MA's Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
Forgive me, everyone, I'm from Canada. As someone from Massachusetts who has seen countless lives lost to overdose, how much do you think the heavy opioid culture in Massachusetts played into your substance use?
A huge deal. I mean, aside from like the stereotypical average high school drinking and smoking pot, the opiates, that was my next step. I wouldn't even say the alcohol or the weed was a gateway drug leading to this, but it was so prevalent and popular. It was almost like it was normal to be smoking this shit.
So would you say it was like as normal as drinking was?
In my group, and then again, I was kind of a guy that had a core group of friends, but also was in many other cliques. And yeah, in my group, majority of these individuals were definitely dabbling in that. It was very popular. As you know, Massachusetts is overrun with opiate culture.
Cool.
Big problem here and probably all over the world.
Yeah. Robert says, because of your experiences, so just so you know, this is Robert from Savannah.
Well,
he says, because of your experiences with locked-in syndrome, I have put in my living will, if I am in a coma or vegetative state, please play my music library and subscribed podcast with headphones. Would this have been helpful in your situation?
Well, first off, let me say everybody should have a living will. It's really important. I don't think many people think of that. I can only speak to my experience, but I was so sick at this time that I'm not sure I would have enjoyed my music library. Maybe if it was on a very low volume. It's hard to say. I think at times I would have enjoyed other things, really soothing melodic sounds at a low volume would help me during my time locked in. As I began to recover, I started listening to a lot of my core music, which is jam bands, stuff like Grateful Dead, Fish, that kind of stuff. And then I also really like hip hop. But in the beginning of my recovery, it was honestly too violent to for me to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So it went through stages for me, but definitely make a living will. It's hard to say what you would really like in whatever condition you are in, but I recommend it being at a very low volume.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is just my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I had headaches a lot of the time, and I really did just want silence,
Yeah.
but I couldn't talk, so yeah.
So would you recommend that is put in the will? Like maybe have times where there's the podcast or the music?
Yeah, I would recommend in times of non-medical crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, when you're locked in, it's hard to tell if you're actually in crisis or not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say as a general rule, that would be a good idea.
Awesome.
See, what you don't want to have happen is you're going into cardiac arrest and some really joyful music is blaring that may be annoying.
Yeah. I can imagine that would not be awesome. Cool. Robert says, great advice. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Robert.
BL, regarding the Massachusetts and opiate crisis, says, yep, that sounds about right. It's so normalized, and there are cliques that are into heroin just like there are stoner cliques.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's so common. I don't think someone even who might be a stoner and have no idea that they're with a group that actually is smoking heroin or injecting heroin, because these users like to keep it on the DL.
Right.
There's such a bad stigma around it that it's kept hush hush, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take another look through the various platforms, see what we got going on here.
Okay.
Just as a reminder for everyone tuning in that you can post your comments and ask your questions, and we'll be reading them out, and everything, whatever you got, feel free to ask away. Okay. My internet's just taking a second to refresh the browser here.
I know what that is.
Okay. So I have another question for you, Jake.
Okay.
What do you spend most of your time thinking about?
the future,
Yeah.
mainly my recovery. I've been thinking a lot about this transfer lately. What I mostly think about is when I'm good enough. Obviously, when I'm out on my own, living on my own, I'm still gonna need intensive outpatient therapy for who knows how long. But I think about what I can really do in my off time when I'm not focused on my recovery and other talks I can give and how I can visit these rehabilitation hospitals and provide motivation for someone who might be giving up. That's like, I'm definitely, I plan on doing my outpatient treatments at Spalding again. And I also plan on visiting the traumatic brain injury floor where I lived. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna volunteer my time to start by just helping those who want. Obviously, if they don't want me in the room, I don't want to be there. I know how difficult it is, but if they want someone to talk to and I can tell them how far I've come, maybe it will give them that boost they need to push on.
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to all the good I can do when I'm back on my feet. That's what I think about all the time.
Yeah. It's like that constant manifestation of what you want to happen in the future, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So we have a question from Joanne, and they say, did they treat you for pain while you were locked in?
Oh, yes. So, just so you know, before I was leading up to locked in syndrome, I was fully detoxed from opiates by the time I got to even well before I was locked in, and they saw what was happening to my body, and they knew I was in extreme pain, and I was on a variety of heavy narcotics, liquid dilaudid, liquid methadone for pain, liquid lorazepam and diazepam for anxiety, sleeping medications. I was on over 50 scheduled meds and additional 24 as needed 3 times a day.
So you were
With
just on a soup, eh? Or just like a constant.
and this was all obviously not orally. This would be injected
Right.
into my stomach by feeding tube. So they would cross every pill, put in a liquid solution, and take a plastic syringe and just flush it into my stomach. Yeah.
Mm.
And honestly, nothing seemed to help.
Did anyone, oh, Joanne says, wow.
Yeah.
Did anyone at any point try to give you like an opiate painkiller? Or was that very clear that that was off the table?
That was actually not off the table. So the Dilaudid is an opiate painkiller. Methadone, well, that's typically used for detoxing from opiates. However, that was the heaviest thing they could give me for pain. So nothing was off the table then.
Mm-hmm.
It was really life-saving measures, comfort measures only. They were
Right.
just trying to get me comfortable before my death, which nothing worked.
Yeah. So this is on Reddit from Love Fried Chicken. Would you ever get horny while locked in?
Oh boy. Yeah, I would. Um, there's not much you can do when you're fully locked in to satisfy an urge. Um, Strange fact that I want to share with the world. The only things that functioned properly on my body while I was locked in are my ears and my dick. Very strange.
Yeah.
I do not have a medical reason for this. You know, some doctors have joked with me, well, the male brain knows his priorities, but I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that, but like, seriously, why?
Yeah.
Never got an answer.
Yeah.
Um, I can't really go into details, but yeah, we'll just leave it at
True.
that.
We have another question from Piece by Piece by Piece, and it's favorite show and movie before and after.
Favorite show would have to be Showtime's Homeland about the CIA. That was, interestingly enough, that was definitely before um also The Wire and The Sopranos on HBO. But you know, Homeland just had its final season, which I was able to watch, and the ending was just perfect. Since I watched everything, I mean, it was a perfect way to end a 10-year show.
Mm-hmm.
And then for movies, I got a list of funny ones I would watch with my brother David. We loved Happy Gilmore. We loved Home Alone. We loved It Heads in a Duffel Bag. Highly recommend that.
What was
So,
that last one?
8 Heads in a Duffel Bag.
8 hands in a duffel bag.
Heads.
Heads. 8 heads in
Yeah.
a duffel bag.
Really funny.
Okay.
I don't even think it was like ever in movie theaters, but it's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Also, South Park was a big favorite of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And those really haven't changed before and after.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So we are coming up close to the end of our time here.
Yeah. You see that. So much to talk about.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to take a quick last peek at questions that we might have. And then if there's nothing that really stands out, what we'll do is we will end it for now. And everyone watching, we will be coming back at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's in 6.5 hours to do another hour and a half live of questions. So if you have questions then, post them and we will absolutely get to them at that point.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody, for asking me anything.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of this epic AMA with Jacob Haendel. Jacob is an incredible story of recovery from hell and back, where he survived locked-in syndrome, which is basically a coma that you are conscious through, but no one knows that you are in this coma and conscious in there. And the only documented case of recovery from stage 4 progressive leukoencephalopathy, which is where the white matter in your brain is gone.
Yep. Here we are.
Awesome. So we are going to jump right in. This Reddit post has been blowing up since this morning when we made it. So jumping right in. One of the first questions, Jake. This comes from a conversation that we were having earlier about what you wish nurses would need to know.
Yeah.
Said that scratching itches would be an awesome thing, eye drops, etc., the little things. And we got a reply to that from Von Weishacker that says, "Good to hear you're better now. I'm a nurse. Is there anything you think I should know or think about? What bothered you with nursing, etc.?" And she just wanted you to let you know that she's interested in every detail possible: positioning, skin, hair, heat, cold, noises, etc., all of it.
Well, thank you first off. There are many things, and I think it's really different from case to case, but a main point is that you should be very mindful and assume every patient can hear you. When it comes to positioning, there's never too much. You should be aware of skin sensitivity. Blankets really bothered me, even sheets. Not to mention I was hot, but just the material would drive me nuts. There's so much I could say on this. I feel like you should privately message me, and I could give you a better response.
Awesome. Yeah, because they do go on to ask about like active mattresses where there's pumps air into different sections and all of those minute details.
I've had an air mattress for a long time, and cooling blankets and all kinds of things. So I would love to share more of my insights with you.
Nice. On YouTube, we got Bernie saying hi. Welcome back, Bernie. Nice to see you again.
Hello.
On that same comment earlier, we had someone comment, Danny Drama said, "Damn, man, getting stuck with an itchy ball sack or wedgie so bad I can taste it is my worst nightmare. I had a very small taste of it after I had a seizure and couldn't move for about 20 minutes. That was the most scared I've ever been."
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, yeah, and the way you phrase having a wedgie so bad you can taste it is exactly what was happening. It was almost like I was choking on hot sauce.
That's awful.
Bad. You got a glimpse of what I went through for months, and I don't wish that on anyone for even 1 minute.
Yeah. Moving on, we have, this is a reply to what you were looking to do after your recovery. And this comes from Johnny. And they say, "I've quit heroin not too long ago and used to chase the dragon myself." For anyone who doesn't know, chasing the dragon is smoking heroin. "Now I am terrified. I have a bad cough, but that's about it. I last used heroin like 4 days ago. Do you think I'll be okay?"
I do think you'll be okay. However, it's a risky game. You really never know what you're gonna get. But a cough had to do nothing with my initial symptoms. You're probably safe, but you should carefully assess if it's worth it, because looking back, it's not.
Mm-hmm. We have a comment, or rather a question from Pygmy. And they say, "Good day, Jacob. How are you answering these questions? Are your responses verbatim and dictated? Are you typing, etc.? And good on you. You're a testament to power and hope, or to the
Thank
power
you
of hope."
so
So,
much. The way we are doing this is I'm speaking to Jordan live, and we have a transcriber in another state working very hard to get every detail down.
mm-hmm. Nice. Back to our good friend Piece by Piece by Piece. They were
Yeah,
with us a lot this morning,
yeah.
and they ask, "Is there anything you'd recommend or like to say to the speech pathologists out there?"
First off, thank every speech pathologist for what you guys do. It's amazing, rewarding work. Um, I would say never give up on your patients, which I don't think they do, but just keep pushing them forward to better themselves.
Nice.
And I would also recommend for those who are motivated to work on their own to download an app called Constant Therapy. Basically, it allows you to work on all different types of speech on your own if you have access to an iPad or a computer.
That was Constant Therapy.
Yes.
Awesome.
I do have a link, or rather a YouTube video of me using this app, and that's just named Constant Therapy.
Great. And if you're watching this live, well, then you're linked to the YouTube channel. So you can find that very conveniently there.
Yeah.
Good. Flying right through these. We got a question from Jessica 082891. And the question is, what was the most frustrating thing you heard or realized was happening when you were locked in before your doctors or nurses realized you could comprehend your surroundings?
I've I've said this before in an interview the other day. Hearing, "Oh, he's brain dead. Don't worry, he can hear you," was not only devastating but really annoying. Also, when I was in the emergency room for I was being transferred back and forth to rehabilitation hospitals, but I could never last. They would have to send me back to intensive care. And these doctors would come in and they would look at me and they'd say, "Oh God, look at this poor guy. He's so contracted." That made me feel worse about myself. They had no idea I was listening, but I was.
Yeah. So in that moment when they were saying that, were they talking about you as if you were like this husk of a human?
It was almost like I was a specimen.
Hmm. Very interesting.
Yeah.
We got a question from Figure of Stickman. How did you pass the time? Did you find any sort of ideas you really liked while spending so long alone with your thoughts?
Uh, that's such a hard question to answer because there's so much um, ideas. Let's see. Well, I definitely got good at my geography. Really, ideas that stuck with me were really diving into myself and figuring out why I was depressed, why I abused drugs, and I learned a lot about myself during this time. But again, there's so much I could probably go on for 4 hours on this topic.
Maybe another live.
Yes, perhaps.
Good. There is a second part to this question where they ask, would meditating have some sort of PTSD effect on you now?
Absolutely not. I have a form of meditation I do, mainly deep breathing and calming music. I dim the lights and it's just very peaceful. No BSC. I have positive growth syndrome, which is the opposite of that.
Post-traumatic growth, that is, right?
Sorry, yeah. Post-traumatic growth, which again is extremely rare, but quite fitting with my story.
Mm-hmm. I'm just switching to look at the Facebook feed for a moment here.
Sure.
And we have a question from Jane. And she listened to us yesterday on the podcast.
Yeah.
And she said, at some point during your locked in state, you reached a place of beauty and peace. Do you believe it was a near death experience?
I do. I think it was the closest humanly possible to death without dying. I know that there are people out there who have died for a few minutes and were brought back. That did not happen to me. This was like I was on the verge of death, but never went there. Was never like brought back with paddles. And that peaceful feeling, I like to think, was crossing over or beginning to.
Awesome. For anyone who's listening for the first time and is just hearing about this, can you give us a very quick rundown on, like, just a very short version of what happened there?
Sure. So I was on home care hospice. They have already told me that I would die numerous times in the hospital and on hospice as well. And this one specific night, I started to turn blue, and I don't know how I could see this. I'm not even sure I really did, but I heard them saying this, and they said I only had hours left. This sort of static sound, if you were looking at a fluorescent light, started and slowly became louder and louder, drawing out all the other background noise, all the other family talking around me. It was all I could hear. Simultaneously, my pain began to float away, and I felt like I was floating away. It was quite peaceful. And I said to myself, this is it. My eyes began to slowly close, and when they finally did, I was positive I was dead. But then I woke up in the morning back in extreme pain. That's what happened.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Looking at YouTube comments for a moment, Riley says, Jacob, you are incredible.
Thank you, Riley. I appreciate it.
And we have someone watching the Shadow Muffin from Europe. Thank you for being with us. I know it's super late for you over there. And they were wondering if you have made a bucket list and what might be on it. They know that you mentioned the marathon and the picnic, but they're wondering if there's anything else.
It's really about those other personal goals I would want to achieve, such as, opiate prevention, education, motivation, and all kinds of recovery, motivational speaking. One thing I really want to do is walk the Great Wall of China.
Nice.
Definitely more travel as well.
Mm-hmm.
International.
Did you do much traveling before your
I did.
the decline?
I definitely got to renew my passport by now. But yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I got to renew my driver's license as well. I'm sure they're not going to give me one anytime soon.
I imagine not. Okay. Going back to Reddit here. We got a question from X Jam and Josh X. What was your first thought or reaction when you realized you were fully locked in?
Fuck me. And then I was like, oh my God, could I be like this forever?
Yeah.
And then sheer terror took over because I started having extreme anxiety and panic attacks around just like that's. I didn't even know this was possible for a human being to be locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think of like comas, really bad accidents, disease, or death. You don't think about the in between.
Yeah.
And that's
Being in
what
that
I was
purgatory.
stuck in. Yeah.
The Shadow Muffin says those sound like amazing goals regarding the bucket list.
Thank you, Shadow Muffin.
Okay. Back to Reddit. We have a question from Six-Stringed Astronaut. What hobbies are you into now? How many of the hobbies you had pre-locked in do you still participate in? And they hope you're having a good day.
Well, thank you. I'm here with you guys, so it's definitely a special day. Majority of my hobbies that I was into before, well, the healthy ones at least, I am not physically well enough to participate in. I still have new hobbies. Obviously, video editing has become a huge one. Writing my different accounts of this whole um this whole disease and recovery, as well as really fucked up things from my past. And then just my basic physical recovery. Eating good food is definitely still one. And every chance I have to go out to a nice restaurant is a gift. I've actually got to do that with my brother and my sister. Back to my favorite location, the Liberty Hotel in Boston.
And what did you have when you went there?
Well, the first time I had it was a brioche grilled cheese with frig spread jam and prosciutto with sweet potato fries.
Nice.
That was such a treat.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine, because hospital food to that would be quite a jump, right?
Oh yeah. On that subject, I don't really eat much hospital food. I'm gonna admit it. I'm a food zombie.
Well, you were a chef, or
I
rather,
was.
I mean, you still are a chef. You just can't
Yeah.
chef right now.
In a way.
Yeah.
I still got the education.
Mm-hmm. Just before we go to the next question, there's Jane, the one who asked about the near-death experience, says, Jake, never stop smiling. Your smile is contagious and so very beautiful.
Thank you so much, Jane.
We have a question on Reddit from Solid Particular. I'm sorry if this has already been answered. I looked for it in the comments. I couldn't find it. For how long were you locked in? And how much could you do? You could blink and you said you could stick your tongue out for yes. Was that all you was that all, or could you twitch your fingers or something to that effect?
So when I could blink and barely stick out my tongue, I was considered virtually locked in. When I was truly locked in, the only things I could do were involuntary vertical eye movements. There was nothing else. And yeah. The amount of time was roughly 6 months of being able to do nothing, fully locked in.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And when you started to make progress,
Yeah.
it like opened the door for everything to happen.
Yeah.
Did you make progress because it was like time to make progress? Or do you think you were capable all along, but you needed the help to make the progress?
I don't think I was capable all along. Something changed. Not sure what. I don't think anyone would know. Even my neurologist, he could not tell me. But I think that when that initial risk movement happened and I started to blink, the right people or there at the right time, I was in the right hospital, and that milestone gave me the drive to just make all this possible.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna switch over to YouTube for a quick minute here. We got two questions from Stefan or Stefan, depending on how you pronounce that. He says, "Hi, glad you're recovering. How did you manage to start communicating, and how did someone notice?"
Well, it all started with I blink. Blink if you can hear me. Blink if you're thirsty, blink if you're cold. They were convinced this was involuntary, and there was no way I could actually be following along with them. I then, they established my blink would mean no stick in my tongue. That came like a few days later. And when they say stick in my tongue, I could barely do it. Like I can't even mimic it and be
Right.
like a dog that's I don't know,
Panting? Like it's just like
not quite panting. Like I don't know. I have an image of a dog with like a tongue that's not fully out. So they made that my guess. So I blinked for no, barely stick on my tongue for yes. Then they introduced what's called the AEIOU board, a letter board. Basically, they would point to each letter. I would stick on my tongue when I got to the proper letter, and I would spell things out. You can also see what this board looks like on my YouTube channel under AEIOU board.
nice.
Then I went to the Megabee, which you can also search.
The second part to Stefan's question is also curious if you ever heard people talk about, quote, you being a vegetative state or talk bad about you.
Yeah. I heard a variety of things. Everything from don't worry, he's branded anyway, can't hear you, to a family member saying the problem will work itself out any day now, meaning I would die. So don't worry about the finances. Things like he's a fucking drug addict. He doesn't even deserve the bed. Those were some of my highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, there were also a lot of beautiful things I heard.
Yeah.
The bad ones tend to stick out more.
Can you share with us one of the beautiful things that stuck out for you?
Sure, I remember a neuro ICU aide or nurse's assistant would come really close to my face. This was when I was fully locked in, and they could tell my heart was racing by the monitors. And they would rub my chest and just say, "It's okay, baby, it's okay, honey. Calm down, you're gonna be okay." There was a lady who sang opera to me and talked to me about her day as if I was really there. That made a huge difference. Just having someone blah 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 to you all day, or like at least for the hour she was in the room, really brightened up a horrible day.
That's
There are
amazing.
other ones, but for time's sake, yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep moving on. That's so just that's just so nice.
One other thing, actually, I want to say, this was in the height of my autonomic storming. Someone said to my father, I believe it was a nurse, well, at least he doesn't look bad. He kind of looks like a Greek god. I like that.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Our next question, this is going to be the last question before I refresh the Reddit page, just so that we can stay organized with the top comments here. And it's from Just a Cool Baby. How would you describe your religious beliefs / personal faith? And did these change during your locked in time or now?
No, they did not change. I do have more questions now about what's really out there. I've always believed in a higher power. I my religious beliefs, I identify as Jewish, but I'm not that religious. Like, I never really was, but I identify that way. Everything's still the same, but I have more questions about what's really out there because I think there's lots more than we realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to just do a quick refresh here. There are still lots of questions coming in, but just making sure that we continue to sort it by the top. That way everyone has a vote here. Okay. It's getting long, all this scrolling to get through all these questions.
I bet.
Okay. Stefan on YouTube, who was asking about people talking to you in a vegetative state,
Yeah.
says, wow, that's really rough. You actually heard people speak things they don't say normally to your face. You are a miracle. And that he'd buy a book if you write it.
Well, I am working on a book. I've got most of it written, but nothing's in order, which is the hardest part. So I will let you know, Stefan, as soon as it's available. And thank you. It was rough, but it made me stronger and a better person for what I went through.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. This is I know I just said I was going to be on Reddit, but here I am on YouTube. Anyhow, we have a question from Awkward Greatness. Do you have any numbness or tingling associated with your ataxia? And thank you for sharing your stories about the nurses and nurses' aides.
You're very welcome. There is no numbness, never has been. I've always been hypersensitive, but there has been times of tingling, but luckily I haven't had a tingle since 2019. That would mainly be in my arms. I take that back, mainly in the fingers, but also the arms.
Yeah. And this isn't just like your arm falling asleep, I imagine. This is
like, no, not like that.
cool.
Hard to explain.
Yeah. We have a question from Flymon68. So being the first survivor, maybe they don't know, but is any kind of relapse a concern or even a possibility? And good luck on your recovery.
Thank you very much. Not even a concern. I'm so far past that part of my life, which was a really huge part. Like, when you think about it, it was over a third of my entire life. I was smoking opiates, but I am so far removed from even the thought makes me nauseous. of getting intoxicated.
Yeah.
So not a concern at all.
Nice. Question from I Got Big Plans. Hey Jacob, your story is so inspiring. I have two questions for you. The first is, did you daydream a lot while you were locked in?
Yes, I did. I had that recurring image, almost like a video that would play in my head of this picnic on the beach. And I would daydream about running and think I would also daydream about my past, and like I would think a lot about some of the darker moments and bad things I had done. You know, I was never really like a bad guy, but I mean, I teetered on the edge of being a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Never any like breaking and entering stuff, but you know, drug dealing, etc. And you know, there's a really good friend of mine that he was a fellow chef, and he kind of walked in on me chasing the dragon one day. I was like, oh shit, like he was technically an underling of mine. So I was like, I really tried to keep my professional life and my ridiculous personal life separate. But then he was all like curious, wanted to try it. I warned him, I was like, you really don't want to do this. Like, you really don't. And like, I really don't want to be the guy that introduces you to this. There was probably a back and forth for like 20 minutes, and I don't know why I gave into this and let him try it. That was something I reflected on a lot. It's like, how shitty of me to introduce someone to something I knew was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
We have since talked, and I apologized. He's sober now. He's been sober before I got sick, thankfully.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Their second question is, did you ever have a moment while you were locked in where you were like, quote, oh fuck, I'm going to die?
Of course, several. Um, really, every autonomic showing episode, when I would pass out, I'd be like, oh fuck, here it is. But then I would wake up the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it was just like, I don't think I'll ever die, but maybe it won't get better.
Yeah,
That was scary.
I can imagine. There, we have a comment from Screwed UK. Um, this is more of a comment that I think you'll like to reply to than a question, but
Yeah.
they say, hi, 5 years ago, I had an 8-week period of being locked in. I was
Wow.
taken to hospital as I woke up and couldn't walk properly. I got worse over a few hours and was admitted to the ICU. I was eventually diagnosed with Bickerstaff brainstem encephalitis and Guillain-Barré syndrome. These are
Wow.
damaged. These also damaged my myelin sheath and left me paralyzed and locked in. I made really slow progress, but after 2 years in hospital, I was discharged. I have been left with disabilities, but have adapted to my new life okay now. How has your recovery been?
That is amazing to hear that someone else has actually been locked in like me for any period of time. and got to come out of it semi-okay. I congratulate you, and my recovery has been one hell of an adventure. It's finally at the point where I'm really enjoying my recovery. So it's good. Thank you so much for sharing.
Our next question comes from Noise Cock.
I
People's
like
names
the name.
always make me laugh.
Is that YouTube?
No, this is on Reddit.
Yeah.
They say, will you be able to fully recover?
Well, at first they were like, he won't even survive. Then it was like, he's gonna live a life paralyzed, quadriplegic, and nonverbal. Then it was like, oh wow, he's talking, he's moving. Let's see how far he will take this until he plateaus.
Mm-hmm.
And the plateau is like very common in recovery when you just reach your fullest potential. Anyway, I never plateaued, and now they are expecting a full recovery or semi full recovery. I'll probably never be 100%, but I'll get damn close. And I will run that marathon one day.
Good. Next question comes from Full Metal Nerd. Is there a stage 4 besides progressive? I would guess if one was diagnosed with stage 4, I would assume it's pretty progressive, hence why it's stage 4.
So initially, I was diagnosed as toxic acute progressive leukoencephalopathy. Stage 1 is when you're losing your coordination. Stage 2 is when you're losing your voice and all other abilities. Stage 3 is locked in. Stage 4 is really deaf. That's why I'm the only one to recover from stage 4. I think I'm not sure how many survivors from stage 4 there are, but if there are any, they never recovered.
Mm-hmm. So are you referring to that time in hospice when you were on death's door? That is stage 4?
Even before hospice, I was technically stage 4 for like a month. And then, yeah, hospice, definitely stage 4. And then even after, when I began to come out and be unlocked, I actually was leaving a terminal disease, which I did not realize for a long time. I thought it was getting better, but it was still terminal. So it took me a while to build up the courage to ask this. I finally did at first to a very special physical therapist. It was very hard nonverbal discussion about how sad it was if I was trying this hard and was still terminal. But they were like, I really don't think so. And then about 6 months later, when I could talk, I asked my neurologist and Mass General Care team, and they were like, oh no, you are not terminal. It's like you're reborn. You're just have to physically recover now.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
We have a question from Young Hefner. And
I
they
love
ask,
these things.
um, what was your heroin use like? As in, how much were you using on the daily? Just before you answer that, they also commented that they've never used heroin before, but opiates are their drug of choice. They use oxy casually, but stories like this keep them scared straight.
That's good to hear. I started with the Oxycontin 80 milligram pills known as jams or green monsters. Then they made them tamper proof so you could no longer smoke them. I went to Park 30s. They became scarce. And then in 2013, I began smoking heroin. It started with probably less than half a gram a day. In my height of use, I was upwards of 2.5 grams a day.
And what does that cost? Like, how much were you spending on this?
Astronomical amounts. I would essentially have a $500 a day US currency habit. Obviously, that's why I supplemented my income by dealing.
Gotcha.
And, I always felt like such a scumbag for like selling this poison around. But, these drugs make you rationalize crazy shit.
Right.
And by myself being such an addict and helping out acquaintances or friends that were equally as addicted, I could give them a better price. I figured, and this is a flawed way of thinking, it's better that they would get it from me. Yeah,
Yeah.
sad but true.
Mm-hmm. Question from S'more Packet. What was the best thing that happened to you recently?
Well, that quadruped getting on all fours was pretty epic.
And that's unassisted.
Yes. Aside from that, because of COVID-19, well, beating COVID-19 was pretty special as well. But because of COVID-19, there were no visitors still and no going outside. That recently just got lifted, the going outside part. So my 20 minutes, 30 minutes of fresh air in the sun was very special.
Yeah, I can imagine. Going further down Reddit is becoming this absolute hole of questions, which is so fantastic. Thank you, everyone who's here with us. As a reminder, we are on Facebook, Reddit, and YouTube right now. Feel free to comment, ask questions, and join
And
us.
I would just like to say something. If we don't get to your question, I will be happy to still answer your ongoing questions after our live session. Just bear with me because obviously my transcriber is a much better typist than me.
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
We have a question from 7Yeet7. What was your biggest fear?
When, I mean,
They say past tense. They said was, so I'm assuming not the
Drowning.
now. Drowning.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I thought that would be the worst, but perhaps locked-in syndrome tops that. I don't know. I still wouldn't want either one.
Yeah. This is an interesting question from URU64. Did you ever get sick, as in a minor cold, while locked in? And if so, did you cough or sneeze?
There was no coughing or sneezing. The only sickness I really got while being locked in were UTIs, urinary tract infections, and I don't even believe I was capable of making boogers. I was
Hmm.
like, my sinuses were always clear. Strange.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah.
Next question is from Peaches X. I'm assuming you're in the US, so that sounds pretty scary. How much have you racked up in medical bills thus far? I hope you continue to get well.
Yes, the US healthcare system needs work.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. Luckily, I have Medicare because I worked for 10 years, so I have Social Security. In addition, I am very privileged to be in the state of Massachusetts, which has Mass Health, which really is the best healthcare in the country. So basically, I have a combination of Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare is my Social Security, Medicaid is my Mass Health. Between them, they cover mostly everything. But if you were to really look at what something like this would cost with no insurance, last time I checked was July 2019. I was around $25 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
That makes me feel I ask myself, am I or anyone really worth it? But I have to think, yes, we are all worth that amount. And it's almost like this is like a made up figure. It's obviously not the real cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. So I can't even contemplate where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Probably maybe 35 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good thing you have insurance.
It is.
We got a question from Blair. What? Sorry, user on Reddit. Hello, Scrib Blair. What is something you wish people would ask?
Well, be funny here. How would you jerk off when you were beginning to recover? That would be a good question.
Jake, how would you jerk off when you were beginning to recover?
Okay, so I had minimal movement of my arm, both arms, and my fingers were still clenched like this. But I realized I could actually touch my dick, and I was like, well, this is like amazing. I've been able to do that in like, I don't even know how long. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't open my hand, but just like the friction alone and not being touched for so long was enough to kind of begin the process. And then as I got better, this isn't something I did too often. I was obviously preoccupied with other things, but I mean, I got no shame, so I mean, I'll just tell you guys, I'm I got good at this as a disabled person eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
So this leads really nicely into a question from Environmentality One. And they say, living in a rehabilitation facility, how much privacy do you have? Do you ever
Oh,
watch pornography and get busted by the nurses?
um, privacy is minimal at best. I mean, I still need help when I go to the bathroom. I really do like majority of ordinary daily tasks. In terms of the pornography question, I was never really into that much. I prefer the real thing. Um, Having said that, when I first learned how to manipulate my iPad, I was like, oh wow, I know I'm capable of looking at porn. So obviously I tried that up. You know,
Yeah.
I hadn't really seen a naked woman in quite some time. So I looked that up and like, you know, I had no control of like my hands. So this is all done by voice control. And I realized Siri could not really understand me that well. So I'd be like, Siri, stop. Siri, stop. And be like, okay, I'll make it louder. And like then it'd be loud and like I'd start getting all embarrassed that I'd be like getting caught. At this point it was just like, how do I shut this off already? Um no, I've never been caught, but close.
Mhm. We just looking at Facebook here. We got a few people that are laughing here with us along in this conversation.
Oh,
And Sean
well,
sorry, go ahead, Jake.
probably my family.
Sean asks, Jake, when do you think you can go home?
Well, the plan is for me to be moved to an intensive rehabilitation center. They will have all my advanced therapies and a good walking program. They think after about 100 days there, I'll be ready to move to my new own apartment, which I will obviously require some visiting home care health aides. I don't even think I would need visiting nurses, but I will still need some help. So I would say realistically within 6 months, maybe sooner.
Mhm.
If that's the Sean I think it is, what's up, buddy?
um, Looking at YouTube here, We got Kimmy that says, "Hi, Jake, from your friends in St. Louis. Thank you so much for allowing us to follow your journey. Slow and steady wins the race, my friend. Keep up the great work."
Thank you, Kimmy.
We have a question from Mr. Above Top Secret. This is something that we've already answered, but I think that this is a question a lot of people have, so it's worth repeating.
Okay.
With Locked In, were you conscious the entire time? Did you sleep and dream?
I was conscious 99% of the time. I did not sleep, did not dream. Well, I did daydream, but not the real dreams. And I would only pass out from tachycardia and autonomic storm.
Mm-hmm.
Never a restful sleep, though.
Yeah.
Never on a schedule. I could fall asleep at 6 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, or 2 in the morning. It would make no difference. I
Yeah.
passed out when I passed out.
Yeah. Sean from Facebook says, "Good for you. I'm praying for you, pal."
Thank you.
There's a number of questions here on Reddit that I want to make sure we get through, and then I'm going to refresh because it's been a little while, and I imagine there's a whole bunch more.
Yeah.
So just so you know, we got half an hour.
People will get you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Questions will continue to be answered even after the live stream is done, everyone. So continue posting your questions.
Yeah.
We have a question from Sampaguita 1962 asking, as a nurse, what are some things that healthcare providers did that helped you in your recovery? I'd want to know if there are any actions I could do to help someone in this position.
Again, there's so much here, but I would recommend speaking in soothing tones, calming affirmations, be sensitive and aware that they may be really sensitive to touch or light. Keep everything calm and cool. Odds are these patients with brain injuries are running very hot, even if they look cold.
Interesting. We got a question from Bloody Ice Cream Pizza. It's Father's Day in the US today. Can you see yourself as a father someday?
I can. It's actually one of my, that is definitely a life goal of mine. On the bucket list, on the priority list. I'm actually the last person of my name. So it's like on my grandmother's deathbed, she told me to keep the family name alive. So it definitely is important to me. And I think I'll be a good dad. Even when I was in active use, I knew that I would get myself clean if I was gonna be a dad. And that was a priority.
Yeah. And this is a question from me. Have you given it thought as to what you would, like a really important lesson that you would teach your child?
Um, Can we come back to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me sit on that.
Yeah. Cool. This next one comes from Miracle Man #1 fan.
Oh, nice name.
Yeah. And they
I like
say, I know you can't walk yet, but will you run for mayor?
I was thinking president, but yeah, I will. I'll run for wherever the people want me.
A man of the people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Miracle Man #1 fan. The name means a lot.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, it doesn't matter what they say, I got to read this.
Yeah.
We have a question from Rothan22. Jacob, hello. My name is Jacob. I am also a chef in Louisville, KY, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm from Canada. At the Sealbach Hilton. Did you use the H in the industry a lot? I've seen so many chefs go down that route and it hurts your body.
I did. Definitely in the industry. I mean, as you know, you're on your feet for extremely long hours, working really hard, and not only pain pills, but cocaine as well. There were a number of illicit drugs readily available from everyone from the dishwasher to the head executive chef.
Mm-hmm. Great. And this is going to be the last question before we refresh and see how things are doing.
Okay.
This is from Lady Moundmaker. You talk about looking forward to doing talks and getting involved, which is great. From your experience in the midst of your addiction, do you think it would have benefited you to hear someone talk about their recovery?
Yes, but you know, I I spent time in a detox once. That was a personal choice of mine, and I always heard the same talk about how I was an addict using needles, and there was never anything that was quite relatable to me. So I mean, I kind of always thought that, yeah, well, I'm not that bad. I don't use needles, so it's like this doesn't really apply to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TJ on Facebook says, so proud of you, Jake. You are in our prayers.
Thank you, TJ.
Okay, I'm going to refresh the Reddit thing here. Okay, see how we're doing. As I'm going down, some people have commented on the things that we've already talked about, not as questions, but just as comments. And some of them I'm going to read out. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So we were answering some YouTube questions, and it was talking about the doctors recognizing that, like, holy shit, there's someone in there, right?
Yeah.
And they say, dude, that's an amazing outlook and even more amazing perseverance. Congratulations for working through that, man. You are a true inspiration, and I just want to send hugs and good vibes your way. Thanks for being awesome. I'm really glad you're doing better and sharing this. Thanks, man.
Oh man, thank you so much. It means so much to hear that stuff. It never gets old. Like, I can't even explain how much it means.
Yeah. Nice. Nice message, eh?
Yeah, very nice.
Someone else commented, fascinating, great positivity.
Thank you very much. You gotta remain positive if you want to get through something like this.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the the guy who was asking about heroin and if he will be okay, he said thank you in response to what you
Yeah.
said. Mm-hmm. We were asked earlier, what are your goals for July and August? We talked about the goals, and someone commented, "You're one tough cookie. Thanks for sharing this hardcore mode journey."
Thank you very much.
So earlier we were asked, would you ever get horny while locked in? And so we had that response, and someone commented on that and they said, not a doctor, but we did learn in nursing school that your dick is operated by your spinal cord and not your brain. So while the brain can influence the process, the spine is in charge and doesn't need the brain at all. Obviously, this isn't super specific, and an anatomy expert can go into detail, but that's interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder, well, I was fully locked in, so I wonder if there was some micro movement in my spine or something that made this possible. I really want to get to the bottom of this dick and ear thing. Because really nothing else worked.
If anyone listening is a dick expert, we would love to talk to you. We have Richard on.
I'm sorry about my laugh.
No, man, it's awesome. Love it.
In instead of
out. So we have a comment from Richard on YouTube, and he says, I just finished listening to the 2-hour podcast, which was yesterday, everyone, and is in the Reddit description as well. 2 minutes ago, and I listened to every word. The most inspiring thing I have ever listened to. Keep it up. Amazing.
Wow. That's a hell of a comment. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Just for anyone listening, the podcast was filmed yesterday. You can find that on your favorite podcast platform at The Anchors We Climb, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find it in Jacob's channel there.
Or Jordan's. This would not be possible without you.
Thank you. We are back on Reddit now, and we have a question from Captain Kirk 2063. What was waking up like, or the escape? Not sure how to word this. Like when you regained control, or is it not like that? I guess I'm imagining you literally being trapped and one day escaping from a cell, except the cell is your mind.
So, in a way, you can look at it like that, but it was really a much more slow, painful process. It wasn't like I just magically woke up and escaped. The escape was really the blink to establish I can hear you, but if you can hear me, and I would blink. And then, when I started saying yes and no with the tongue and becoming virtually locked in, I would definitely classify that as the first escape. And that was, I mean, it's so hard to put into words. It was such a little thing, but it was so huge. It was like someone made a comment on my YouTube channel once. That's a man on the moon shit. And that's what it really was like.
Yeah.
That initially yes and no system. And again, it was even more of an escape when I uttered my first noise. I have these ongoing escapes from, unlocking new levels and boundaries that no one thought would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so exciting.
Yeah. It's exciting to watch too. I always get excited when I'm like, yeah. Anyways, this get off on tangents there. We have a question from Hanib Lecter on Reddit. So, what path in life took you to smoking heroin? Asking for a friend.
Well, this was all the deep cause of depression, anxiety that rooted from my mother being sick. I guess it was also popular where I grew up. Not only was I depressed in kind of putting on a facade of a fun-loving, happy-going guy, it was just so popular where I grew up. It was just easy to get in the opiates, and then that led to heroin, and yeah, I just the road I went down, I guess.
Yeah. Sean has a comment on Facebook, and he wants to let you know that this is a great thing you're doing here, putting your story out there. He admires it, and you never know who you're helping, and he knows because he's been there.
Thank you, Sean. I think I know who you are, and that means a lot coming from you.
I just had a question for you, and now it slipped my mind. Oh, yes. So my question for you is, what do you think needs to change in our treatment for drug addiction or our approach to drug addiction?
A lot. I mean, I don't know how it is any other place in Massachusetts, but there was one of the main things that needs to change is really addressing the key issue that makes you want to use the drugs. Because without that, yeah, you could detox, but the odds are you'll relapse. So to stop that, you gotta find out what it is inside of you that makes you act out the way you're acting out. And it doesn't even need to be drugs, it could be a variety of different self-destructive behaviors.
I really like how you describe that as self-destructive behaviors, because that is really what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next from Reddit, we have a question from Enchanted Spoons. Did you come up with any good book ideas while just being there?
Yeah. Aside from just my personal journey,
Yeah.
which honestly good enough for even one of those far-fetched Lifetime movies. I would definitely qualify for that. But there are some other horror story ideas revolving around my case that could be fiction or non-fiction that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Keep following, look them out.
Nice. I'm personally very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a question from Daniel on YouTube. When were you able to finally sleep?
When I was considered nonverbal, I would say my first real night of sleep was when I got to Spalding Rehabilitation in Charlestown, Massachusetts, probably around August, beginning of August 2018. A combination of just being able to communicate with the Megabee and the intensive rehabilitation let me finally relax and sleep.
What was that like for you when your first sleep?
Very relieving. I mean, it was, I used to be when I was like locked in, even before hospice, I had these thoughts of like, if I close my eyes and this might be it. So like, not that I was even scared to death really at that point, but in the back of my mind, I realized when I was passing out, this could be my last moment alive. But when I was in rehabilitation, it was finally like I'm working so hard, and I was working so hard to stay alive. But there was something different about that
Mm-hmm.
that I can't really put into words. But it was very good. It was like, I finally felt like I would accomplish things, even though they were so minor, and that I guess allowed me to get some rest.
Yeah. I just went and sorted Reddit by new so we can see some of the new questions that are coming in here. And we have a question from the Modern Pirate. Are there any charitable organizations or support groups that you would like to help once you're able? Maybe some of us could fulfill those good wishes on your behalf.
There are a lot. I'm still working on figuring out the best, but one thing, and again, I don't know where you are in the world, but like particularly in Massachusetts, one group that I'm beginning to be involved with that solely revolves around opiate prevention, education, grief counseling for fatal overdoses. It's called the Safe Coalition. Safe is all caps. SAFE Coalition. Also learn to cope, which is I don't know if they're really nationwide just yet in America, but they will get there. There's also a variety of traumatic brain injury organizations that I would like to support. And I really want to focus. I don't really know of one that exists, but something that helps people that are nonverbal get access to iPads. I was so lucky to get one, and like it was from a organization, but I think they're stretched very thin, and there needs to be more of this nonverbal communication gear out there that's either donated. Maybe I'll start something. I don't know. But being nonverbal or even virgin locked in is almost equally as bad as being locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a question from Aquarius Best. Do you fantasize nurses, aides, PTs, or OTs? If yes, do you develop feelings towards them?
Yes, this has happened. Not really fantasizing like in a creepy way, but there's definitely been strong connections, both romantically and not.
We have a question from Ari Guda 2018. Do you regret ever doing drugs?
Of course. I mean, who knows where it'd be? But then again, who knows if I would be in the position I am to help others if I didn't go down this path. So it's a very hard question to answer. But overall, yeah, I regret dabbling in that shit.
Yeah.
Even as socially experimenting, I regret that.
We are coming up to the end of our time here. And just before we finish, I want to read one last comment from Richard on YouTube. He says, "Your story about near death was absolutely incredible, sad, happy, and scary. I don't think you could have done a better job describing it. You will be a fantastic motivational speaker. I'll be watching."
Thank you, Richard. I really appreciate it so much. That was an awesome comment.
Mm-hmm. I would just like to remind everyone that you are welcome to continue asking your questions. Jake will be continuing to answer your questions and commenting alongside. So by no means is this the end, but we are going to be wrapping up the live section of this AMA. Jake, do you have anything that you want to say?
Just thank you everybody for watching and your support. And hopefully we can do this again in 6 months, both podcasts on your mountains we climb and the AMA, kind of the same thing we did 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be walking. I'll probably be in my own apartment. It'll be very interesting to follow up in 6 months.
Absolutely. So everyone on Reddit who's listening to this, type in a exclamation mark remind me 6 months, and that way you can stay up to date when that comes out.
Yeah.
Yesterday, just as the last note, Jake and I had an amazing conversation where Jake gets to tell his story traveling to hell and back, more literally than any human has experienced, I believe. And you can catch that at The Mountains We Climb on your favorite podcast platform. I so enjoyed it, Jake, and I so enjoy being here with you doing this. So thank you.
Man. Thank you so much. This was a hell of an experience. Actually, this is more tolling on my body than any physical therapy I've done in the last year, which is strange, but true.
Yeah.
But well worth it. So privileged to be talking with you and everyone else.